Brilliant. So this interview's about going above the line and beyond expectations. Great writing, Matt. Above the line and beyond expectations. No? Anybody? I wrote it, so yeah, it would have been nice to get some applause there, but it's okay. Thank you. Cheers. Appreciate it. I think probably best. Firstly, I've got with me Dave Edwards, Director of American Express, and Danica from and so really pleased to have you both here with me today. And Dave, could you just tell me a little bit about the context, a bit about your media planning philosophy, and just a bit more about the media planning you've been doing over the last year?
Yeah, for sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks very much for having me. And yeah, we've got some interesting work to share and talk to you guys about today. And I think the bedrock of some of that is in the philosophy that we've certainly tried to embed within the team over the course of the last 12 months. And I think a lot of it is to do with really us doubling down on audiences and working very closely with Danny and the team to really double down and understand our audiences as best as possible, and the passion points that really sort of make those sort of individuals tick, which has been sort of fundamental to this particular piece of work we've got for you later. We've also been doing a lot of work about trying to sort of link American Express's experiences with consumer acquisition this year. So as many of you may know, we have relationships with British Summertime, All Points East Festival, Wilderness Festival. So there's some incredible experiences out there. And so just trying to sort of link that back to how we're thinking about our card members and sort of encouraging them into our business has been pretty fundamental. And I think the third point really is just being about being a bit braver. We work very closely with Danny and the team, and we have frameworks where we think about trying to do things like the brilliant basics and trying to make sure that we do those things good and proper. But I think really this year we've sort of turned the needle a little bit in terms of being a bit riskier and sort of putting ourselves out there a little bit, which I think, I hope, has sort of paid dividends.
Brilliant. And we will turn to some of those partnerships that you spoken about there shortly.
Yeah.
But I just also wanted to check in, talk a lot about purpose in the context, and I know that's something that's kind of came up in our conversations pre-today, and I'm not sure where we sit on it as an industry. We speak a lot about purpose, but the key drivers, as we have heard throughout today in all of the conversations, is really what we want to drive is ad effectiveness. So could you tell me a bit about your positioning on purpose? Why not just focusing on eyeballs?
Yeah, for sure. It's a really interesting point. It's something we talk about a lot internally, and the way that I think American Express internalizes it really is more about backing. It is the powerful backing of American Express, which is something that we stand for globally, really, a North Star. And I think there are lots of ways that manifests itself. If you're a card member, we provide rewards which are market leading, which help to unlock experiences, dining, sports, restaurants, theatre, those sorts of things. We also then, when it comes to things like our merchant partnerships and small business owners, we have things like Shop Small and Shop Small Saturday, and those are ways of being able to sort of back the high street. And so there are lots of different things that we stand for that are kind of fundamental to what it is that we do. But I think we also understand that reach is extremely important, and impact, all things that are really important. And I think over time what we've probably done is we've just sort of had sustained investment in areas that we believe are right, and over time have started to kind of to pay dividends for us, I think.
Danny, obviously when you work with Dave and the rest of the American Express team, surely with your product you're pretty much trying to reach everybody, right? So how do you think about desired consumer base, targeting? How does this sort of fit in when surely you just want every eyeball to be really looking at the American Express products?
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about that.
So Amex have loads of different kind of cards, and I think they all have very unique benefits to each of them. So take the gold card for example. It's all centered around rewards and being, you know, something that rewards you for anything in life or things that you love. Whereas a card like the Platinum Cashback card is very much cashback focused. So they're kind of two very different mindsets, and our media needs to be able to distinguish and find channels and ways to talk to those people in those different ways that they expect us to. So that's kind of the way it is a different approach depending on the kind of card that we look at. But I think it's important to say as well that what's great about Unsigned and Gold Unsigned and what we're going to get into is that we can pay for kind of the reach, but I think what's special and what is magical about campaigns like this is that you can earn the attention of people that aren't necessarily within your immediate target audience. So hopefully, when this launches next week, we get loads of earned reach off the back of it as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many of you were sat in the great measurement debate earlier, but Ross Sargent was saying the same thing on stage. You know, as TV prices go up and inflation goes through the roof, say 20%, would he take that 20% he would have got and put it into something like festivals? And how important is that experience? And Dave, I know AmEx seemed to be literally everywhere I looked this summer. When I was at All Points East, you know, I was with a friend at MixMag. They do lab sessions the other day, and they mentioned a campaign you ran with them, and it's something we're going to show you all a little bit shortly. I mean, I've seen you, because I'm a music fan, at a lot of these music experiences. Are you just trying to reach house and techno fans, or are you trying?
Yes and no. You know, this summer we launched some really, really exciting partnerships with some really leading industry brands in the music space. So with MixMag, NME, Synca, and BIM. And you know, whilst that did give us some net new reach and impact for sure, that wasn't what the partnerships were about. It was actually a very brand new, innovative way of surfacing a partnership, where what we did was we sought out some of the UK's finest music talent to actually help us provide the soundtrack for our new Gold ATL and TV ad that will be launched this next week. And so, yeah, it was a very different way of approaching that challenge and trying to think about something that is very heavily music related. But going back to sort of my previous point in the work with Danny and the team is that, you know, our gold card members, it's something like ridiculous, like 85% of them can't get through their day without listening to music, right? So, you know, we know that it's a very important part of their life, and so we want to make sure that we show up in ways that are relevant, and this is one of our ways of being able to do that.
Great, and we have a world exclusive to show you. It's not something that's been released yet. I'd love you to play the VT.
Your fingers, you wanna roll with it.
Get points on whatever you buy, to use on whatever you want,
Tryna make this year your time.
like trips to your favorite places,
My whole lifetime,
or tickets to see your favorite band.
lucky I was born from the belly of the beast. She's a savvy, I was born in the future.
Get what you want with AmEx Gold.
Thanks for that. Feel very privileged that we got to see it for the first time here. It's not
Well
actually
done.
hit
First people,
TV
yeah.
yet,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
look at that, Mediatel events, pushing it out first time, yeah. No, thanks very much for Dave for trusting us for that. Danny, I'm going to turn to you first. This seems like again, very focused campaign targeting music listeners. Why not just target everyone? Specifically, obviously, you're using a TV ad. Can you tell us a bit more about that and how you're pushing out that message?
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the biggest insights we found about the gold card audience is that, as Dave said, they are obsessed with music. So another stat, 75% of them want to be the first amongst their friends to discover new music. So it felt like a really natural fit for us. And we needed to show up, therefore, in media in the ways and the platforms that they engage with. So things like social, digital audio, online video. It originally was going to be something quite discreet, wasn't it? We were going to keep it super discreet, almost like a test, but actually it became so much more than that. And yeah, now we'll be launching on TV and a host of other channels from Monday next week, which is super exciting.
Great, fantastic. And can you tell me a bit more about if this met your obviously very high media planning standards at
Hopefully, TBC, because we'll launch next week and we'll see how it goes. But I think, UM's approach to planning generally is that, we're in the business of future-proofing businesses. So we want to do things that transcend culture, they connect communities and drive commerce. But on the cultural impact, this to me feels like, a great opportunity to do that. It's not just sponsoring a TV program or a music program on TV, or even integrating with them. It's actually AmEx providing a platform for up-and-coming artists to really thrive. And I think that speaks volume to what the brand is about, which is awesome.
Brilliant. And Dave, this obviously fits into a bigger, wider plan for what you've got going on at AmEx. Can you just tell us a little bit more about, how chuffed you are with how it's going and what your next big steps are?
Yeah, I mean, delighted, absolutely delighted. AmEx Unsigned is about providing, a platform for the musician, and Jazzy Martian, who you saw in the ad, was essentially a very nice guy from Nottingham who was about to quit music, and now he has a platform where he's now part of the ad. We worked with Wilderness Festival. He performed at Wilderness Festival earlier this summer. He has music mentorship now from some of the biggest names in music. He has a spread in NME magazine coming out quite soon. So it's the backing and sort of relationships that we can leverage to be able to give people that platform. And in the same way with the director with Unsigned, the director was up and coming. He wouldn't necessarily be a first choice to work on, let's say, a high exposure AmEx brand ad, let's just say. And so, giving him the opportunity to come and do something which you can see is probably slightly grittier and slightly different from what you might see from a normal AmEx TV ad, to again sort of give it that sort of authenticity. And so, it's great on that side of things, but the other thing that's really important for us is that it's about talking about membership rewards, which is AmEx's loyalty currency, in a way that is relevant and interesting to our music-loving gold card members, right? So it always ties back to that sort of commerciality one way or another, and I think that, we are very excited. We hope the ad does well. It's had quite a lot of interest from the industry, so much so that a documentary has actually been made about the process that we've gone through, and that documentary will be going live, we believe, on a rather large, well-known streaming platform in the not too distant future.
What's that?
I don't think I could possibly say, because I might get in some sort of trouble for saying who it is, because I'm not sure if the ink is dry on the contract. But it's very exciting.
Yeah.
It sounds very exciting. Yeah. We've got a bit of time for some audience questions. So get thinking. Is there anybody on the floor who would like to say anything about this? How they've been thinking potentially about their planning. Any questions for Dave? We have an expert on stage right here, right now.
Danny.
Something from Dino over here. Dino Myers Lamptey's the founder of The Barbershop.
Great jacket.
Hi, everyone. My question's around the cost of living crisis that's coming up, and being a credit card company, and how you've done all these kind of great things, but is your strategy changing going forward in terms of how you're going to communicate the benefits and the rewards?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think for sure, always, and we at AmEx take sort of the financial landscape extremely seriously, and I think the best example I can give is when we were going through COVID very, very recently, is that we took a lot of different steps to try and make sure that we were protecting our card members and our merchants. And one of the things that was very, very successful, and something that certainly helped, was that for those card members perhaps that were paying fees, we were very aware of that. They weren't able to travel, so why would you have a fee-paying card like, let's say, a gold card? So what we were doing was giving them additional added value into that product to be able to make sure that there was still relevance and it was still adding value to their day-to-day lives, which, in a world where they weren't able to travel. So, for example, on the gold card, it was about delivery credits and things like that, so people were still able to kind of enjoy a takeout from home, being aware that they were still paying a fee. So yes, for sure, and as we sort of navigate what is now going to be a very difficult period, we'll be certainly putting our heads together to make sure that we're continue to put our card members first.
Great. We potentially have time for one very quick one, if there's another one from the floor. No? Brilliant. Well, a huge thank you to Dave and Danny for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to seeing the TV ad go live next week.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.